Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. Not retro, this is a reasonably old LCD TV. It was one of the first ones to come out. It was affordable. There's no branding, I don't think, on this. It's just nameless. It needs a clean. Obviously you can see some marks and things on it, but this has been mounted on one of those wall brackets, like on an adjustable arm. I forgot what they call this fitting here. It's like a VESA standard, isn't it? But anyway, it's got a built-in DVD player, as you can see on the side. But yeah, it's not playing discs properly at the moment. I've had this problem before. When it's not been used for a period of time, it starts playing up. So I mean, you can see, it's a bit dusty. We'll get the lid off, have a look inside, and just see whether there's anything I can do to fix this. I'm guessing it's just going to be dirt, hopefully, but it could need a new laser or something along those lines. So I'll just try to show you what it's doing here. I've put a DVD in. Just give it a sec. It may start, it may not. I have just tweaked the laser a little bit, experimented in both directions. I could have searched around for an RF test pad, but to be honest, I think it's the laser, because this was an X-Display model. It was something we won actually a number of years ago, and it was the one that was on display, which yeah, I think it's a bit of a stingy prize if you ask me, because it was in the shop. It was actually playing DVDs back to back for no idea how long. But yeah, it's not reading that disc. Any minute now it's going to give up. If I flip the disc over, I'll show you. It's one of these dual-sided ones. Let me just eject it. There we go. Yeah, it's one of these ones that's it's got a side A and a side B. So if we try the other side, the chances are I think this side reads a bit better, and the disc's okay. There's no scratches or anything on it. But when it does start on this side, it's really juddery. It stutters a lot. The intro can sometimes come up, the menu, and you can start to play it, but like I say, then it just freezes and you get little stops and starts and the sound sort of comes and goes. I'm not sure that's going to do anything now this time. So yeah, I'm going to swap out the laser entirely, I think. So this is a pain in the... as you can see, the front bit comes off. It's one of these ones that's clipped. You've got to put something thin like a credit card or something, slide it around after you've got all the screws out, all the way around the edges, and then it just clips off. And you're left with this, so the screen is actually has now got to come out. So I'm just removing the screws down the sides here, and then hopefully we can lift the screen up and access the stuff underneath. So these connectors are a pain, and you can see these ones where you press it down like that and pull it. But they're really hard because it's underneath, and you can't get to the damn thing. You could unscrew the screws here, and there, but you can't get to the ones at the back of the board, and you can't move the screen enough, so it's just a pain. So I just made a note. Pink one was the first one, there, and then the blue one, and then blue, and then pink. So as I mentioned earlier, hard to work on this. I've had to support the power supply. I mean, I could disconnect the power supply. There's two connections, one on each side. I could remove that board completely, but the screen, the second cable, goes right underneath the board. So you'd have to take out the main digital board here to disconnect the screen entirely. It's really difficult to work on. But yeah, I'll get the drive out now, and I'll show you the pots on the laser and how to get the laser actually off this particular drive assembly here. So as you can see, I've taken the screws out here. You need to be careful you don't lose the copper standoffs underneath. You'll see what I mean once I get this off here, and it's probably a good idea to disconnect the flat flexors first actually. If we just disconnect those there, slide that out, I can lift the board up here on this side. Can you see here these little copper things, the four of them, they're just sat there on the screw hole, so you can lose them really super easy. If we disconnect the laser now, there we go. So you can see the laser here. The easiest way to get this off, I've had this off here obviously to adjust, I forgot what I did now. It was to get access to the lens actually, because as you can see, this thing is just completely sealed off. You can't get to the lens, and in fact the first time I thought, let's unscrew this here. That was a bad idea, because the whole spindle fell off inside. It took me ages faffing around with like tweezers and things. What I ended up having to do was use a pair of tweezers at this angle down here to put the spindle back in the right place and then put the screw on. It was a nightmare. It seriously was. I won't do that again. So to get access to the lens, what I did is I removed the screws here holding the bars in, at the top and bottom, and then wound the carriage like this using a gear all the way so the carriage just went straight off the end, so I could, you know, clean the lens. That was the only way. I mean, you could get a cotton bud down there like that if you moved it far enough across, but you can't see it. That's the problem. So that's all I'm going to do now, is just, let's say, remove these 2 screws. There's one here. That one's too big. There's one there, and one there. And it's going to be the same in many other drives like this, you know. That's the main purpose of me showing you this on this video. I seriously doubt anyone's going to find the same model as this. For one thing, it's not even got a make or model on it. It's like an unbranded sort of OEM type thing going on here. So, yeah, the chances of somebody else coming across the exact same model is slim to none, I would expect. But, let's say the principles for doing all this stuff are going to be the same with different, you know, different assemblies. And there might be other TVs out there that use the exact same assembly. That wouldn't surprise me. But as you can see, if I just rotate this now like this, I'll move that bar out of the way before we damage something. And this should just slide all the way off. So one of the things I did before I did any adjustments, I mean, obviously I cleaned it first and tested it, that didn't make a difference, but after I then started playing with these 2 pots here, one of them is going to be for the CD laser. Now the CD side is working, and I'm not sure which one's which without a service manual or something for this, but one of the things I did, and I've talked about this on other videos, is get your multimeter and measure between the, you know, measure the resistance of these pots. On one side you'll find, you know, between the common and one side it'll be pretty much a ground, it'll be a short, you know, like 0.7 ohms, 0.5 ohms, that sort of thing. But between the centre and the other side of the, you know, wiper there, you'll have resistance. And I wrote mine down, I think, let me look at this, yeah, as the ribbon was that way up, it was 2K2, the one on the left, and the one on the right was 1K. And I've written them above and below each other. You can see there, on one side it was shorted there, and on the other side it was shorted there, and then you got 1K, like saying 2K2. And I did adjustments either way and wrote those down as well. You know, I think those were my final adjustments, where I went lower. Originally I went over, I went like 1.1K, and the same in the other direction, and it didn't make any difference at all. In fact, it did bring a tiny little bit of life into it after I decreased it on both of them. But obviously, bear in mind, like I say, one of them is going to be a CD, so it's a really fiddly way of doing it. But the benefit I've got now is, because that was factory calibrated, I can pretty much get away with putting another laser, you know, my replacement laser. I'll show you got one here. I'll get out of the box in a minute, but I can set the pots precisely the same, and it's not going to be far off what it needs to be. Yeah, there's the anti-static blob. I don't know if you can see it. I'll just see if I can get something to point with. There. You see that? We've got 3 contacts. So I'm guessing when we get this one out in a minute, there's going to be a blob of solder there, so I'll need to remove that with some desolder braid. This is a good opportunity to get my ESD wrist strap on, I think. I'm strictly speaking, I shouldn't be doing this on the floor, but to be honest, when you're dealing with screens, having the screen face down on carpet is not a bad thing. But just make sure you've not got any screws and things around. You don't want screens being scratched from any parts and things, you know, that you've removed. So this one's the replacement, and can you see there, just get a bit closer, yeah, we've got a solder blob there, so I'll have to desolder that with a bit of desolder braid now. Yeah, and the good thing is it's identical. The difference, as you can see here, is this part here, and that's not uncommon, where you have to take a part off the carriage, you know, to transfer over. It's not it's not part of the actual optical pickup unit part. And obviously I'll have to disconnect my flat flex there and put it into the new one. Yeah, and then obviously I'll check the resistance on those pots there and adjust them. If you're looking at a system and you don't know where to, what the laser is on it, inspect really closely around. You can see we've got like a serial number there, I think that is, but write them down or take photos, any numbers like that. Now in this case, I think it was on here, if I can see it. Let's see, is it going to focus? Yeah, can you see there? It's like SF HD65 or something. So yeah, you've got to really inspect these. The reason I knew that was the part number straight away is because other drives I've looked at in the past, like the Panasonic 3DO, that's got an SF-95, I think. I forget who makes these. Is it Sharp? I think it might be. So yeah, you get common similar part numbers and things on some of these, but you'll probably find that this particular optical pickup unit here is used in a good 20, 30 or more common, TVs and things, they'll CD players, not CD players, DVD players. They use, it's like a common part used amongst lots of different models and things like that. So hopefully you can see there I've removed the solder blob. It just needs a bit of IPA on there just to clean up those pads. But inspect with a magnifier when you do something like this, and just make sure you've definitely got no bridges there. I mean, I could test that actually with my meter just to make sure there's no continuity, but I can see really clearly actually with a magnifier that that's okay now. I think the reason there's 3 there is because there's 2 lasers on this. There is 2. There's one for the CD and one for the DVD. A bit like getting PlayStations and perhaps Xboxes. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever swapped out the laser on an original Xbox. And you know what? It's not going to do any harm just to gently wipe the laser with some IPA there as well. Just because it's been stored for, well, we don't know how long, in what kind of conditions and things, humidity wise and what have you. Yeah, so I can assemble that now, I think. So I've done the adjustments here. The interesting thing here, I'll just point out, this side, which I suspect is the CD, because you tend to, I don't know why, you tend to get, from other systems I looked at, you tend to get like a lower resistance on the CD side. 1K was exactly what this one was set to, so the CD part was set exactly the same between these 2 lasers, even though this one's just obviously shipped straight from China or somewhere. The one on this side was, I think, 1.9K, so I have adjusted it to about 2.15K to get it near to that 2.2. So it wasn't far off. You could have pretty much probably just plugged that in and it probably would work as it was, but I'd prefer to go with as near to the original settings there, although it's going to vary between this is the whole reason to have these adjustments. They do vary, so that I might have just tweaked that out a little bit. I might need to just go back and put it back to 1.85 or whatever it was. But I mean, I could always inspect this board here and have a look round. There are some test pads on here, you can see a load down here and a load up here, so somewhere on there is going to be an RF test pad, but they all just say TP, test point, so I would need to probe around with the scope, and it's one of these where when it's assembled you can't get access to anything. You'd have to have it in a sort of partially exposed state and stuff. Makes it very hard to measure things. So I thought it was worth showing you the actual adjustment process, because I don't think I've ever shown it in any of my videos actually. Some people do ask me, how do you actually adjust it? They've never actually seen a pot, they don't know what a potentiometer is, a pot, and how you actually adjust a potentiometer. So you just need a jeweler's screwdriver of approximately the right size so that you can fit it flat on the head there. Can you see it fits into that little slot? And then just tweak it clockwise or anti-clockwise and remeasure it. Write your readings down, and you can see the 3 pins I was talking about here. You've got 2 on one side and then the common on the other. So and as I've explained in other videos, as you twist this, it's like it varies the resistance between those 2 pins and those 2 pins. So as you change it, you'll have a lower resistance on one side and a higher resistance on the other. And the way they're usually used in a lot of these CD and DVD based systems, consoles and CD players, DVD players, etc., is there's usually a short, so usually soldered together between one of the sides and the common. Which is the case with these. That's why, like say, if I measure, even if I adjust it and do a measurement between 2 of the contacts there, the common and one of those ones on that side, I'll get like 0.7 ohms, and adjusting it won't affect that at all. It's the other side, between common and the other side that we're dealing with in this particular scenario. But I'm not kidding you. You can literally sometimes just touch this and you think you're actually twisting it, but you've not seen it move. You measure it and you've changed it by a couple of hundred ohms. They're very, very sensitive. So when you're doing something like this, don't just do it by eye. Get your meter on there, measure its resistance, to start with, write it down, tweak it and measure it again. And if you're more than, say, 100 or 200 ohms adjustment, you've gone too far. Even sort of 50 ohms will make a noticeable difference to a laser that's on the verge of being able to read and not being able to read. Just that small change of 50 or 100 ohms can make all the difference. So I've swapped the ribbon over. I just need to carefully remove these 2 screws here and swap over this little metal piece. And while you're here, clean off any old grease, put some new silicon lithium based grease. I use a bit of general purpose oil, that works quite well. And inspect these gears here just to make sure you're not got any breaks or cracks, etc. But yeah, the mechanism's fine on this. It's awfully cheap assembled, it really is. You can see everything's soldered on. I mean, look at this here, you've got these 4 wires here and it goes all the way over round the other side, and again it's soldered on here, so you can't even take the thing to pieces without desoldering stuff. But yeah, I think I'll reassemble it now and we'll give it a try. As you can see, that's working. I tested this disc on both sides because before one side was just a bit intermittent, the other side wouldn't work at all. It's just totally reliable now, so I'll just test a few more discs on it and then perhaps just throw it together. You can see it's got a few dirty marks and things. The interesting thing is, as I showed earlier, there's no glass. The screen is the screen, that's it. The screen is a module on its own, so you have to be really careful with this. You know, the protection is with whatever protective layer there is under there, but yeah, you can see that's starting to play now. Yeah, this is the bit I don't like, the clipping it all back on around the edges. It has to snap together. Trapped my finger in that then. Yeah, cheap design. So it's not something I would have chosen to buy this, actually. If I was going to buy a TV for something like this for the bedroom, etc., I'd have probably gone with like a Sony or a Philips or something, or even a Toshiba. You know, you tend to get better pictures with some of those, you know, proper branded makes. I don't know what brand this is. I haven't got a clue. You know, is there a part number under here? Is that why that's been taped over? I don't know, it doesn't look like it. That just looks like the warnings and things. It just says made in China. So if you know what this is, what it's a clone of, is it like a bush or something? I don't know. You can see it, you know, there's a stand obviously goes on the bottom of here, but like I say, I've been using the Vesa wall mount, so I'll show it you in situ in a minute. I just need to clean up the case now, just wipe the screen and stuff, and I'll show you it's, you know, assembled. So something else I thought I'd just show you here. Can you see this? It says content side facing towards you. That is the most cryptic message ever. Content is in the label, or content is in the actual contents of the disc. That, you know, most people wouldn't really know what that meant actually, and it's confused me a number of times. So I'm going to stick a label on there while I'm at it. So having reassembled it now, I just thought I'd just point out something. The laser on this is perhaps not the actual fault, and it's probably the, or possibly, but I think probably actually, the tracking coils or focus coils. It's going to be one of the coils on there. And the reason I think that is before I ordered the replacement laser, several days ago now, I you know, cleaned it up, I'd adjusted the laser voltage, you know, and tested, and I couldn't get it playing a disc at all. And then just before I came to put this laser in today, I thought I'll just give it a test just to see what state it's in, and it actually started to play one side of the disc. But it was, you know, juddery and stuttering and stuff stopping. I'm stuttering now. And things, you know, lasers don't do that. If a laser mysteriously starts working when it hasn't been working, you'd be forgiven for thinking maybe there's some caps or something on the power supply or something like that that could be at play. But there's definitely nothing wrong with the caps in this TV. It was purely a case of the you know, the TV being moved, and the orientation. You know, instead of being upright on a wall, it's like that. And I can't help but wonder if, let's say, it is perhaps, in this case, it's been the tracking coils or the focus coils. I'll post a link down below, actually, to one of Retro Game Mod's videos. I've mentioned it a number of times. It's a 4-hour long video, but it's well worth watching. And in that video, he uses, I think he connects up a supply, and he has like a sine wave, I think, of a certain voltage, and basically that sine wave lowers and raises the focus, so you can see the laser bobbing up and down. And it does the same with the tracking coils, where, you know, it goes to side there. I think it's side to side. It might be that way. I'm not sure. Can't quite see the coils very well. But yeah, it's well worth watching that video. There you go. I can watch my V in bed now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.